Going to begin the meeting. I appreciate everybody coming. And if you will, silence your cell phones if they do ring. If you go outside and answer them, we appreciate it. Let's see. Cell phones. We've got a special guest here tonight. He's not a guest. He's just haven't seen him in a little while, and I'm fixing to spring a surprise on him. He probably knows who I'm talking about already. It's Deacon. Would you say the devotional for us this evening and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? See? Watch him. I guarantee he'll get up. And you can step to the mic up here. If all of y'all will join us.
I missed you too.
That's just a way of showing I missed you.
Yes, sir. Let us pray. Most gracious and everlasting God. Once again, dear Lord, we've come to you one more time. As we call upon you, dear Lord, we just want to thank you, dear Lord, for this opportunity. We thank you, dear Lord, for your people that are here this evening to make decisions in this county. Father, we ask you to touch, lead, and guide each heart, dear Lord, and do things that's pleasing in God's eyesight. Not just bless them, but bless the first responders, dear Lord. Bless those that have been out here through these storms, dear Lord, that's trying to help people, dear Lord. Bless those, my Father, that have lost homes right now, that have lost different things right now, dear Lord. Father, we just want to tell you thank you right now. We give you all the glory, honor, and the praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You had to know that.
Be ready at all times.
That's it.
Let's see, we have Christ Connect here tonight, and I think that's all the media we have at present time. If anyone comes in, we'll recognize them at that time. And now we will have the roll call by Ms. Mincy White.
I, Venus Missy White, present as Clerk of the Board of Commissioners of Bulloch County, hereby call the roll for those on the governing body. All those present shall answer by saying aye. Chairman Roy Thompson.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Kurt Deal. Commissioner Ray Mosley.
Aye.
Thanks, Commissioner Deal. Commissioner Ray Mosley.
Aye.
Commissioner Anthony Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Jappy Stringer. Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Aye.
Commissioner Toby Connor.
Aye.
I've determined that we have all members of the Board of Commissioners present. Therefore, we have a quorum to conduct business for the good of the citizens of Bulloch County. I now yield the floor back to the chairman.
Thank you, Ms. White. Before I ask for approval of the general agenda, do we have any changes desired by the county manager or the board?
Will the chairman yield?
Yes, sir.
We don't have any specific changes except that under commission and staff comments, we have several members of the staff and from Public Works and Public Safety who would like to give a presentation or an update on the Debbie response and recovery efforts. And it'll probably ensue with some discussion about how we're going to try to fund the rapid response plan that we have. So really no modification of the agenda specifically, but I did want to point out to the board that, what's in staff comments could turn into a decision or approval by the board.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I've got that noted. Commissioners, do you have any changes? Not, I'll seek a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All of those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Thank you very much. It's my duty now to read a lengthy consent agenda. So, number one is approve the minutes from Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. Two is approve the purchase of U-scope video laryngoscope monitors and accessories from Boundtree Medical in the amount of $24,096.36. Approve the purchase of key fire hoses from Navco in the amount of $17,942.40. Four, approve the purchase of first due reporting software in the amount of $33,887.50. Five, approve the purchase of a 2025 Dodge Durango from Allen J. Automotive Management through an awarded Sourcewell contract in the amount of $48,808. Six, approve a service agreement contract between the Bulloch County Correctional Institution and Diversified Correctional Services, LLC, in the amount of $4,400. Seven, approve the appointment of Keely Fennell to the TAD Advisory Committee. Eight, approve the purchase of Motorola APX 6000 portable radios from Motorola Solutions in the amount of $99,366.52. Number nine is a motion to approve the purchase of two 2025 Ford Explorers for the Bulloch County EMS Department from Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln Government Sales in the amount of $45,693 each, a total of $91,386. Number 10 is a motion to approve the purchase of a 2025 Ford Explorer for the Bulloch County Probation Department from Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln Government Sales in the amount of $42,283. 14. Number 12, it's a motion to approve the purchase of a 2024 Ford F-250 for Bulloch County Recreation Parks and Grounds Department from Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln Government Sales in the amount of $50,948. Number 13, motion to grant a 2024 alcoholic beverage license for packaged retail beer and wine and distilled spirits sales to Nikki Green and April Cooper. 4, Poor Decisions Beer, Wine and Liquor, LLC, located at 8741 U.S. Highway 301 South, Unit D, Statesboro, Georgia. That's 13 items on the consent agenda. We can vote on those collectively, or we can move anyone to new business. What's your desire?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve them as read.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Thank you very much.
Approved.
Everybody is, okay, unanimous approval. That's tough to get used to there. Under new business, we have 4 items, and I think County Engineer Brad Deal is going to lead a discussion on each one of these.
Brad Deal, County Engineer. Good evening. Appreciate everybody being here for this meeting. We have several projects we wanted to get moving, and that was one of the reasons why we wanted to get this on the before you as soon as we possibly could. So this one, the first one here is our resurfacing project, our annual resurfacing, which is this year we were going to do about 28 miles of county roads. We had some additional LMIG funding, which allowed us to do a little more than we normally do. So we received 3 bids. The low bid came in at $6 a little bit over $6 million, which was below our cost estimate of $6.7 million. And again, the additional LMIG funding that we got this year is helping us to do a little bit more than we normally do. And the resurfacing list includes Ash Branch Church Road, section of Burkhalter Road, Leafield Station, Mud Road, Old Portal Road, Talons Lake Subdivision, Creekside Cove, Billy Michael Road, Sweetheart Lane, East Village, Ashley Lane, Friendship Church Road, Caitlin Lane, Kayla Way, Summerwind Place, Timber Ridge, and Francis Scott Drive. And let me know if you have any questions on any of that.
We have any questions? Then hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
A motion, we have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, show of hands.
I approve.
All right, it's a unanimous approval. Item number 2.
So this is a change order that we have on the construction of the entrance road that's coming off of Highway 301 into the Public Works facility. And there's a sanitary sewer force main that runs underneath the area where the road is going to be constructed. We had, the line was shown on the plans originally, and we actually had uncovered it early in the project at a location outside of the roadway where we had a storm drain pipe that was crossing it. But during the initial construction, where a lot of earthwork was removed, or a lot of dirt was removed for the construction of the road, we found that the elevation of the sewer main was only about 6 inches below the proposed pavement elevation for the road. So that obviously is not enough cover for the sewer main. So what this change order includes is lowering the sewer main by about 3.5 feet, and it's about a 160-foot long section. And we also got some outside quotes an outside quote from another utility contractor just to check the validity of the change order proposal that Sykes Brothers gave us. And the other quote was higher. I think it was $55,000. So I am recommending approval on this change order in the amount of $42,600 with Sykes Brothers. And that project is being funded by T-Splosh. And let me know if you have any questions on that.
Questions? And I'll ask for a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, show of hands.
I approve.
Mr. Deal, it's a unanimous decision. Number 3.
All right, making sure I'm on the right one. So this is the Brandon Pond Road project that, as you all know, we've kind of gone through the process with FEMA to get reimbursed on this, and also to have it designed in a way that will withstand, I think we've got it designed so that in a 100-year flood event, the water will not overtop the road. And I guess just for information purposes, last week it did overtop the road again and did some additional damage to it. But with this box culvert that we're proposing to construct as part of this project, I think we're going to have a whole lot less issue. And then I guess the other thing is that even if the water does overtop the road in the future in a big storm event, we'll have head walls on both sides of this, on both ends of this box culvert, which is going to stabilize the shoulder, and you're probably not going to have the erosion and have the road getting undermined as it did these last two Hurricane Idalia and then Tropical Storm Debbie. So we received 7 bids on the project. We rejected 2 of the bids because they did not meet the bid specifications. So the lowest bid that did meet all specifications was from McClendon Enterprises in the amount of $547,801, which was well below our cost estimate, which was $682,000. And as we covered before, FEMA and GEMA will reimburse the county for 85% of the cost. So if you look at the design cost that the design cost that we spent on this project plus the construction cost, it's about $705,000. And So the county will be responsible for about 175,000 of that 700, and the rest will be, we can be reimbursed by FEMA and GEMA, so. And that's pretty much it, so let me know if you have any questions.
Okay. Questions?
Brad, I do have one with the additional damage that you mentioned. Somebody from McClendon, you said? Yeah, McClendon. Have they looked? I mean, in order, are they still gonna be able to stay inside of their bounds of the bid? I know everybody don't want to hear this, they make us have to rebid this thing because it's been closed
Right.
so long. But I just want to know if they had went out and looked, because I don't want, in other words, you know how it is, once you start and then you turn in a change order, then you know, you
Right.
kind of like a set of kitchen cabinets, they kind of got you.
Yeah, it kind of put us in an awkward position because we received the bids just the week prior to Tropical Storm Debbie hitting us. So it was actually due to be on the commission meeting last week, which was about all the time this was occurring. So we don't think there's going to be a huge difference just right offhand looking at it. There could be some difference, but I don't think it's going to be enough to amount to a large change in the project, a large change in the scope. But we're going to have to evaluate that to answer your question. I don't have an answer to it right now. We're going to have to look at that a little closer.
I don't know if you're the one I need to ask, or the rest of the commissioners. Do y'all think we might need to move this back a week and let them go out there and look and see? How does that need to do, Mr. Couch?
We don't need to change orders, basically.
I mean, I just don't want to leave the door open for just any amount of change order to come through. In other words, I mean, if they look at it and say, hey, look, it blowed out another $100,000 worth, you know, we might need to rebid it or something. But I'd like to have some kind of figures in front of me before I just say, hey, come do this project. And with dirt, I mean, if it just washed some more dirt away, then that ain't gonna be that big of a deal, you know, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it changes from day to day. I know even when we had the storm last year, you could go look at it one day and you could go back a month later and it looked totally different because more of it fell off. And but I will say this, we would like to move ahead as quick as we can, because we do think that, for one thing, with the tropical storm we just had, that the suppliers that produce the precast box culvert, they're getting a lot of requests. So it could push us back further and further the longer that we wait. I really don't think we're looking at a large change order. There could be a slight change order. Don't know that yet till we probably take some more measurements on what's got to happen and meet with the contractor as well. But
How about if we heard this portion at our next morning meeting? That suffice, everybody would, I feel sure there's gonna be some change order because there's more damage done. I mean, you can't do a same
Right,
job,
right.
but I would like to have a figure of some kind of, you know what I mean? So would that be presentable, Mr. Couch, as far as if we heard this next, I mean, I know they need to get going. I mean, I understand, I just bought some box.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
If you wanted to make a motion to defer the item until the regular meeting next week, I think that would be fine.
Mr. Chairman, you want more discussion, or you want to call for a motion, or what?
How much is it gonna set you back as far as, was they gonna go to work on it tomorrow? If we approve it tonight?
well, no, but
Well,
you know,
Brooklyn's getting pounded, the reason why, and it does need to get on, and
Right.
I like to have, I'm like Mr. Rush, and I like to have the full figure, you know, but this is unprecedented, what we've been through. We've never been through it before.
well, I will say this,
And,
you know,
but I know Brooklyn's getting eat up with the traffic and the way, you know, with school and all. So that's my only concern is how much longer, if we wait till the next morning meeting, is it gonna put it off to get this project underway? Because we do need it reopened just as fast as we can.
Really, 7 days, because I think, or 8 days really, because I think with the, if it were approved tonight, you'd have to do well, you wouldn't do a notice to proceed until the contracts were signed off on, right?
Right.
So there'd be that process, which could take 10 to 20 days, and then you issue a notice to proceed, and then the contract itself.
that's usually roughly a month, yeah, from the time we
Yeah.
approve it here to getting all the contracts signed. Not 3 weeks to 3 to 4 weeks usually,
Yeah.
time to get everything done, but
For a project like this, I don't know what the length of time for the construction contract would be.
think we
I
have-
know in bigger stuff, we do 180 days. I don't know if this one's shorter, but
Yes, this one, I think we're 150 days for completing everything is what's in the contract, but,
So we push it back till the morning meeting.
Be 7 days,
We gonna
right?
lose 7 days on this?
And then if they,
Or just rough, I mean, I'm not gonna hold your feet to the fire on it, but we probably, just rough estimate, we're gonna lose 7 days?
yeah, unless we run into issues with, like I say, the contractor being able to get materials, because I know they were pushing us to get it
More change orders.
approved as soon as we could, so, yeah.
Any more discussion?
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I,
Sir?
when were the bids received?
This was, let me check the date on that. That was August the 2nd, sorry.
I wouldn't think unit cost prices would change that much. And, I mean, they'd have to come back on unit cost, right, for
Well,
materials? and stuff.
primarily, if there's any difference that we have between what we originally had, it could be a little slightly more dirt work, and it could change some of the paving quantities a little bit. But even on, let's say, a resurfacing project, there could be something we hit that's unknown, and you know, those quantities are gonna vary even on any project really that we do. It could be that they run under on some quantities, and we don't even ever have to do a change order, but it's a little bit unknown, I guess, what I'm saying right now. But
Any more discussion?
I think we need to approve it.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think getting it going is more important than what a marginal change order would be. Yeah, I just don't see the contractor coming in with some wild or crazy numbers.
I don't think we're looking at anything like a 25% of the contract amount type of change order. I don't think it's gonna be to that level. Unless last night, you know, another 500 feet of the road caved in or something like that, I don't know.
And then I would presume that FEMA would cover that extra cost as well.
and Mr. Deal, to tell you, I've stayed on top of it pretty good. Me and him went over the bids and all on this. I just wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable moving forward. If you feel like that it won't be a big drastic change, then that's fine.
I really feel like we're not looking at a huge change on it. I won't say that there won't be a change order, but I don't think if there is one, it's not gonna be a large one, I don't think.
And then even if there is, you know, what are you gonna do? You really can't bid out that portion of the job to somebody else, because then the job wouldn't be seamless, right?
Right.
Okay, y'all satisfied me. I just wanted everybody to be aware.
Okay, if discussion is over, then I'll ask for a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second to approve. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous
I
approval.
approve.
Mr. Gill is unanimous approval from everyone. Item number 4.
All right, so this is for the paving of Two Chop Road from US Highway 25 to Rocky Ford Road, and also a section of Banks Creek Church Road. So that's a total distance of about 3.5 miles. Project includes a lot of clearing and grubbing, grading, base work, earthwork, some drainage improvements. We've got a creek that crosses through one section of Two Chop Road. And then, of course, the paving. I was trying to find the total number of bids. So we received 7 bids on the project, which is a very good number. The low bid from Sykes Brothers was well below our cost estimate. Their bid was about $3.4 million, and our cost estimate was at $4.6 million, so it came in a lot lower than we expected. I do recommend approval on it, and just let me know if you have any questions.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
To approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, show of hands.
Approved.
Unanimous approval. Thank you very much, Brad. Next, we will move into public comments, and if you will, state your name and your address when you come up to the podium, and you have 5 minutes to speak whatever's on your mind, and we will use the clock as always.
Okay. Lynn Fatika.
Len Fatika, 201 Canterbury Place, Statesboro, Georgia. Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Couch, Ms. Venus, Mincy White. I come before you tonight to thank all the emergency responders for their outstanding work they did last week and continue to do in the aftermath of Tropical Cyclone Debbie. The emergency management team, the Sheriff Department, the Fire Department, the EMS, but not only them, it was a total county-wide effort. Public Works getting signs out to the closed roads when they were flooded, thus protecting citizens from those flooded roads and washed out ones. The media, especially Grace Connect and the Statesboro Herald, for their team updating us as fast as possible of the dangers and where to get assistance. The County VOAD team, in which I'm a proud member of, working to help citizens. The churches, the different church agencies providing shelter, food, and other items needed for displaced citizens. I don't stand before you today to say I'm representing any segment of the community, but what I can say, the people I've talked to are extremely thankful for all the help and the work, not only that went on during the height of the storm, but also continues today. I've had the privilege of working a number of national disasters through the American Cross throughout the United States, all over, and have served as disaster chairman. As a cooperation and level effort across this county and city agencies, the utilities, the faith community are second to none that I have experienced in my work as a disaster chair. If you allow me a few minutes to share a story of a family I met at one of the churches. They just moved down here from the Midwest to support his mom. Her house flooded. One car was totally underwater. All of his family belongings were in a U-Haul truck and were lost to the floodwaters. They got a place to stay and food at a church. The animal shelter brought them kennel cages for their dogs. He was able to get a place in a little over an hour away to stay. And he commented to me it was more important for them to find that place to stay so that they could free up the beds for the people who really needed it at that church. I know his family will fit right into this community so well after they get the house rebuilt, because that's the spirit of the people of this county. People working together for the betterment of all. Jesus tells us, whatever you do to the least of my brothers, you do unto me. I now have to think he's saying to everyone who assisted, well done, my good and faithful servants. To all those who assisted, from the county employees, the media, the churches, everyone who assisted. I've heard people say recently, let's save Bulloch County. I say, and now have proof, no, together we can all build a better Bulloch County. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Billy Anderson.
Good evening. Billy Anderson. I am a longtime resident of Bulloch County. I think I know most of you all, some of y'all my whole life. Appreciate the time and opportunity to get up here and talk for a minute. I wanted to discuss the development on Burkhalter Road, the 714-acre development. I know it hadn't really been publicly discussed, and maybe there's not a whole lot that can be done, but I do want to at least ask a couple of questions and implore y'all to step in where you can. I live on Golf Club Road. As a few of y'all know, our property backs up to Little Lots Creek. It floods about every year. Water comes over the road almost every year. Cars are in the ditch, that are driving down the road almost every year. We actually fared much better than a lot of people in the county because we're a little bit farther north, than the folks in the southern end of the county that got all the rain. Now, folks on Sinkhole, GW Oliver, that area, is pretty bad. They probably know what that feeling is, just like I do when you wake up and look outside and you feel like you live on a houseboat. You know, you always wanted one until it's your regular house. We fared pretty well, so I can't complain there. I do want to point out a few things. And most of y'all, I would venture to think that you probably agree with my opinion on some of these things. Let me start by saying what I'm asking you to do, so if I don't make it there, I've asked. We've got till Friday to officially object to that as a county. I know you guys have gone down that road last year and with really no success with the city. However, it's a little different situation. We're talking about an unprecedented size. The size of this thing, they're talking about 1,794 housing units. That's 430 acres that they're talking about developing. 430 acres. That's a lot. Y'all know what acreage looks like. That's a lot of houses. If that's all pine trees right now that they're talking about putting on there. If we just look at the pine trees getting cut, I'm not talking about sealing up the ground with concrete and pavement. I'm just talking about cutting the trees. Conservatively, you're anywhere from 2 million gallons a day that those pine trees are holding to easily 28 million gallons a day. That's the size of Cypress Lake if it was 5 foot deep. You can't tell me that that is not going to have a tremendous effect on that creek. We are already getting flooded out. And for the county's sake, my house is my house. It is what it is. I'll deal with it. But I can tell you I wouldn't want to live in that neighborhood. And the folks that buy those houses aren't going to have a clue until their neighborhood looks like Richmond Hill does right now. Those folks didn't see it coming 15 years ago, but they're all underwater right now. That's going to be the same situation. My concern is that the county owns the roads. It's not going to be the cities to fix when they tear it up. The county's going to have to deal with everything downstream of there that they tear up. It's going to be coming out of our pocket, and the city's the ones getting the tax money from it. I will say this, August 16th, Friday, that's when they have to have the objection by. That would have to be voted on tonight, and I'll leave that up to y'all if y'all want to do that or can do that. I don't know the exact procedures, but I'll throw that out there. The other thing I will say is that even though it might seem like a waste of time because it didn't work last year, it does a few things. One, it tells the citizens of Bulloch County, you got our back. You at least are acknowledging this is going to be an issue. And the city understands the county is not on board with this. The next thing it's going to do is it puts something official in place so that maybe there's a legal avenue or a vehicle we can go through in the future. If there's further issues going down the road, at least there's something on record that the county did not just say, okay, because that's what it's going to look like legally is there was no objection to this. The third thing it's going to do is I would say if I was a city councilman and I didn't want this, the politics involved, maybe they don't want to speak up. If you guys are all against it, there may be a few of them that are willing to vote against it as well. And that gives them a little backing knowing, hey, publicly, I'm not the only person that doesn't think this is a good idea. I will say this, and this is glaringly obvious that it falls right within the legal standard of what you can do. This was from their application to the city. Currently, county zoning makes the property difficult to develop with the current zoning and would not allow for an appropriate unit density to meet the cost of utility extension. They're saying they know they can't do it if the county owns it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if you'll yield. Thank you for coming, Mr. Anderson, and I think we've had some email interaction with you. And I think Mr. Pope in particular did an outstanding job of trying to frame the issue. Now, you framed it in a different but a legitimate way. And I think what Mr. Pope tried to express, well, first of all, I'll step back and say that because of the size and magnitude of this development, it was considered a development of regional impact, which meant it had to go to the Coastal Regional Commission, and they did a cursory review. Now, they don't have any binding power really to make formative recommendations or decisions. They did in a way but they never come out and say this isn't in the best interest of the region or the community or the state. However, we did put on the record what our concerns were with the development. Like you mentioned, the road, the drainage. I mean, you can look at any GIS map and see the property really is great for being a hunting preserve. But outside of that, it's going to be difficult to develop at that scale, in our opinion. But then there's all the other impacts that many of those impacts may end up accruing to the unincorporated area of the county, hence the county government versus the city. Our county attorney isn't present tonight because he's out. He's had a knee replacement. I feel it would be incumbent for me to contact them if the Board of Commissioners were willing to take any kind of action tonight. I'm not sure that it doesn't need to be supported by some kind of a resolution. We could always reconvene and determine we want to go in that direction. But if you go back to the email in particular that Mr. Pope sent you, the Beasley Road annexation, I would probably say the State Department of Community Affairs didn't have the counties back. We tried to go through a mediation process, and if my memory is correct, they were either unwilling or the state were unwilling or unable to pull some mediators together. And like Mr. Pope said, they threw a bunch of obstacles up. And I think if you look at that as a precedent, going through this again may do nothing more than to send the message that you suggested, have our back. So I think if the county commission wanted to take that kind of action, I don't know how many of you have really studied it. I know we sent out a notice concerning the annexation to you all that you all received from Mr. Pope, but I don't think we had, or at least I didn't have any comments back from you all. Mr. Pope may or may not have. But it's a big property and it's a big development. And while the city has had some communication with us that they would take our concerns from the DRI report into consideration, frankly, that's not a guarantee. So I would merely say I think it would be up to the board if you did want to take some kind of action. I would probably suggest that you authorize the county staff that you would vote in favor of a resolution that would be appropriately prescribed by the county staff and sent to the city and ultimately the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, we have any thoughts or comments on this?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I know that we went through the same thing, like Mr. Couch said, with Beasley Road, and went through the mediation, or tried to, and didn't get anywhere. But at the end of it, we did come out that the city agreed to take all the responsibility for the traffic and for the roads. So, with that being said, I wouldn't have a thing against giving the staff permission to go back to the city. And I'm not an attorney. I don't even claim to be. I just have to hire them. But my understanding, that big famous word that you like to use, that contiguous, I don't think that we can. I don't think we can stop it anyway, legal wise. But we can make them accept full responsibility for anything that goes on with it. Now, I don't know if I'm correct on saying that or not, or
Maybe not. I think the big issue we had was with the roads. Now, we do have the ability to, what's the right word? Persuade them to come into the fold about, having the developer fund road improvements because it is a county road. We're in charge of right-of-way encroachment permits. And one thing we could do if we wanted to is not allow any encroachment permits, which would pretty much seal off the development. So in a way, that's dirty pool, I guess. But that is an option that's available. You could, I think if you were going to make a motion concerning with what Mr. Anderson wanted, you would have to make a motion to let the staff proceed with filing an annexation objection according to state statute. So, okay, well, we have a motion on the floor, I guess.
Okay, we have a second to that motion?
I missed something.
We have a motion, we have.
Well, let me state the motion.
Restate it so I can,
Okay, I think Commissioner Simmons, I understand your motion to be to allow the staff to take the necessary steps in concert with the chairman to file a formal objection, annexation objection, according to Georgia statute
yes, sir.
concerning that proposed development.
Yes, sir.
All right, that would be the motion.
Okay, do you understand the motion?
Yes.
All right, we had a motion,
I'll second
we
it.
had a second. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, we'd have to get it in by Friday, as I understand it.
Proceed by Friday.
Yes.
And that is no problem. Right?
Right.
Okay, so we have a motion,
We can try it anyway.
we have a second, we've had discussion. All those in favor of the motion, show of hands.
I approve.
Unanimous decision, so we will try.
Are we ready? Okay. David Reed.
Good evening. My name's David Reed. Stay on Highway 46, Statesboro. I came up here about 4 years ago about these mobile homes, and nothing been done. Here's some pictures. Let me see how you get this. What's wrong sewers fitting there on that one? What's wrong on that one? The duct's laying on the dirt. And here's a copy of the letter we sent y'all for the Randy Newman and them come out there with state fire marshal. They wouldn't come. That's 4 years ago. It ain't got no better.
David, why would you think the state fire marshal would not come out there?
No, the state fire marshal came out there, Randy Newman and them wouldn't come.
Okay.
We invited them.
Era.
I mean, wouldn't you try to make it better?
Yes, sir.
If somebody had,
Where's that house there, Dave?
it's out there, I ain't gonna say nothing. He works for the county. I ain't gonna say nothing. But it ain't, it's been about 6 months ago.
Mr. Reed, the issue is dryer vents, right?
That's sewers right there, but I got some dryer vents. People
Okay.
called wanting to know, what I was talking about last time,
All right, well, I
There's
was
two
just
different
making.
problems.
Okay, I think maybe some of the commissioners and even myself were trying to make a connection with the last time that you came. But this is about, and when you say sewage connections to septic tank and not municipal sewer?
Sewers fittings under the mobile homes and the setup ain't right. I told the boy he needed to call the state fire marshal. I mean, they paying $150,000 for these things.
Help me understand what the state fire marshal would have to do with the sewage hookup. I can see the dryer
They
vents.
over the whole trailer.
Okay,
A house trailer's built better than most of these houses around here. Because they HUD built by code. And they over the mobile homes.
have you had a conference with Mr. Pope and maybe Mr. Starling, the chief building inspector?
Yeah, one time, I mean, me and Miss Pope sat down and talked, but this is, that's what I was trying to tell y'all. This is a suitcase 4 or 5 years ago,
Okay,
built on
well-
a man.
But what I mean is to get a resolution to your issue, I think in this case, they both need to be clearly articulated. And the only conversation that I've had with Mr. Pope said that, or pertained to, perhaps, if I'm recalling it correctly, that it would require some kind of local amendment, either to the building code or another state code. So, I'd be glad to sit in a meeting with you, but I think it would be incumbent upon Mr. Starling and Mr. Pope to be there too. And if necessary, Mr. Newman, because you invoke his name a lot.
Yeah.
But he hasn't worked in that capacity in a year and a half or 2 years. So I think to be fair to all parties and to try to satisfy your concerns, I think we have to have that kind of conference. And then if there is any suggestion of coming to the Board of Commissioners and, making a change in a code provision, and it may or may not require a public hearing. I don't have my code book with me, but that's possible. I think there's just a better organized and sequential way to do this, rather than having you come back and be frustrated every time you speak before the board.
The people's buying houses just won't pass the dryer vent code.
I know, but,
You look at that one. Let me turn that one around.
right.
You look at that one, then they got it covered up with pine straw. That one right there,
Well, I think it's helpful
in the dirt.
to have a conversation to know all the facts, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, this particular example or any other that you have. And so I'm urging you to contact Mr. Pope's
I
office.
can't get no answers from nobody. I mean, I really can't.
Well, he's told me he's given some, but
Gave him some, but he won't give me no answer,
that you like.
That house right you're talking about, that house has been fixed. Going by the man's name that was just on the bottom of that page, I looked to see.
My boy's house been fixed, but it took 4 different times.
I know, because Tracy fixed it, right?
Yeah, Tracy had to come out there and fix it.
That's one you showed there.
Then the setup people came out there 4 different times.
But now, y'all met out there, right? You and the fire marshal, and
Fire
Dennis,
marshal.
everybody met out there, that one.
4 different times.
That's right, yeah, I remember that. But
And
I'm,
that's why I invited Randy Newman, y'all come and see what you ain't
he
doing.
was working
right,
in that department then, I remember that.
You remember?
Yeah.
Because every one of y'all got the same letter of what I got here that day.
That's right. To elaborate on your fire marshal, just to bring everybody up to speed, I know David knows, and probably very few people in this room know. I mean, I've took my test, and I can tell you, because I sat there and watched them take their moving test, and I do have a mover's license. Oh, that's just a chain of command. If you have problems with a mobile home and it's been set up and it's passed under the county jurisdiction, and your next chain of command, it goes to the fire marshal, and the fire marshal comes down, and he goes to the mover that moved the house, and he gets the paperwork, and he goes out and inspects it. And then if the fire marshal finds something wrong, then he can go back, I forget how many number of houses. So I wanted everybody to understand, I know what David's getting at. It's a fire hazard. The sewer ain't no fire hazard.
No, the sewer
ain't no, but that's who would pass judgment on whether it was right or not, is the fire marshal. So I just wanted to say that.
But if you're doing that type of work, you ought to know your job. That's what I'm trying to get at, I'm cutting trees for you, I ought to know how to cut a damn limb off,
All right.
That's what I'm getting at, But if y'all wanna have a meeting, that'll be fine with me. But I wanna ask you, how y'all keep approving houses to be sold when it's against the code? That's what I want to know tonight. I mean, y'all keep approving houses against the code. They won't meet the code. I wanna know how you keep giving a CO to brand new houses. I'd like to know that answer.
I think Mr. Pope's waiting on your time to expire, and he's gonna give you some answers.
I'd like to know that answer, how you keep approving and selling houses, for they to be sold when it's against the code.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm James Pope. I'm the Planning and Development Director. If I might, I'll just take a moment just to outline some of the things that Mr. Reed has brought to my attention, and whatever predates my 2.5 years of being here, I can't, speak to firsthand. But regarding the dryer vents, we have initiated a local code amendment process. We're actually going a little above and beyond what is required by the Department of Community Affairs for a building code amendment. But we're about halfway through a 30-day process of public comments for the code amendment, of which we believe, based on research, that mirroring building code from Florida and Kentucky, that there's, and then other jurisdictions that allow PVC and CPVC dryer vents, we believe that it would be okay as far as any of the concern, but there is a process to go through that, and we would, of course, leave that decision up to y'all. We just go on the fact-finding mission and give our recommendation. Department of Community Affairs requires that you send the proposed text or change to them, and they'll take approximately 30 days to review what's being proposed and give you, the Board of Commissioners, a recommendation. And so we have initiated that process, and that really, I do appreciate Mr. Reed's concern for the community and the issue. And he's right. I was not aware of that particular issue until, really got looking into it. And I think that's the clearest and best way to move forward, is getting it officially adopted. Now, as far as the mobile home and manufactured home installation inspections, as soon as Mr. Reed brought this to my attention, I had Mr. Starling have all the building inspectors sign up for additional mobile home installers inspection courses. So far, one has completed it. It's a pretty lengthy course. You can do it online, and everyone is signed up for that. But we have paid particular attention to these items that he has brought to my attention since we first spoke about the issue. I think it has gotten better. I've been out to a couple of homes myself in particular neighborhoods and looked at the dryer vents and the location, similar to what you see in the pictures. And, we're trying to work through just making sure we're seeing these items and not passing over them. So, I do think it's getting better. I can't say to what has been approved in the past, but again, moving forward, I do know that we are paying particular attention to it. So, sorry to be so lengthy, but I just wanted to, let y'all know. So.
And I would like to correct what I said a little bit. I have took my test and I passed it. Me and two people that work for me. I'm waiting on my background check to come back, and then I'll have my life. Probably won't get it. But that's what I'm waiting on now. But I'll probably set up more than anybody in this room. So I know there's questions. Me and Mr. Reed, he lives right down the road. We talk a long time. Been knowing him probably all my life. And since then, I know Chris Owens took his because I come over here and watched him while he was taking part of his. And I do know the other inspectors because Mr. Pope felt like that they ought not to be inspecting them unless they could set them up on their own. So they all get in there. They'll be able to have their mover license if they want to. But I ain't got my license yet, but I have passed the test. So just want to make sure. So everybody got on there and see if I had a moving license yet. Not yet, but just hold tight and I'll get you a set.
Sure. And so, from my department, we feel like, making sure that the public's aware and having everything on the website. We let the Home Builders Association know, architects in the area, just know that a local code amendment has been proposed. And so, again, we just want to make sure we do everything at least what's required or better. So y'all make the decision. We just kind of bring you the facts. But anyway, if you have any questions after this, let me know.
Oh, I got one. What you know about those in the dirt? How you gonna upgrade them? too, 'cause
Oh,
manuals tell you to be 12 inches above the ground to the bottom of your hood. I mean, that's GE, Whirlpool, L&G, Roper. I mean, don't say
Yeah.
in the dirt, ain't no 12 inches there. You might be 8 inches to the top of the pipe.
so again, as far as what's been a certificate of occupancy as of today, I don't know if there's anything we could do to go back and do that. All I can do is commit to saying we're looking at it in
You got
greater detail.
You got some brand new ones going up with the same problem. I mean, you ain't 16 inches above the dirt. You got 4 inches of concrete, 4 inches of pipe, and that's putting you 8 inches above the dirt.
To get on the right page, he's not talking about mobile homes now. He's done switched over to houses now. You can't set a mobile home wrong unless cause it's gonna be so high.
Oh, I'm talking about the gravel vents in the dirt. What you gonna do like that?
On houses.
On houses?
Right, so the building official has come up with a solution that is within his authority, authority having jurisdiction, building official, to where you install window wells, which is an accepted practice throughout the United States for window wells. Same thing as if a dryer vent came out of, say, a basement entryway into the steps. There's a code specifically for that. That's basically what you're creating is an air gap. And so I know personally that some of those have been installed. You may not be able to see them from the roadway when you drive by, but they are installed and have been homeowners that has been approved for. Mr. Starling did talk to them when he went back and inspected. So, and those are called at the certificate of occupancy phase right before it's ready to be occupied, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, we have a solution, but I'd be more than happy to meet with you again and go through that.
What you'll do when little Debbie come back, dump in 8 or 10 inches of rain, and those wells get filled up full of water.
Well,
That's just happened a week ago.
again, there's a specific code requirement for that, so.
I mean, it's dangerous, what I'm trying to tell you. I mean,
There's, yeah.
hey, y'all need to get an engineer, design what you need to do to these houses y'all don't approve.
It's,
County don't need to design.
Mr. Pope, it's evident that we cannot resolve the differences tonight. I appreciate your coming up and speaking. Mr. Reed, I appreciate your coming. Would ask that possibly after we can gain some control of restoring the roads and things, that possibly you might could invite Mr. Reed up again, and you with the inspectors have a meeting with him. And having said that, if you would give that attention, we're gonna move on to the next person at present time.
Alicia Neville.
Good afternoon, evening, wherever we're at now. I'm Alicia Neville. I live in Register, outside of Register, Shack Road. I actually had planned to speak last week, but of course, you know, Debbie messed all that up. But what I was going to ask of you last week, I think might be a little bit even more important this week. But first, I do want to say that I do appreciate everything that's been done in the county. I've heard all the people complaining about the roads and this and that and the other, and, you know, honestly, some of them just don't have any good sense. They just don't understand. We got over 20 inches where I live. There's not a lot you can do. The water's just gonna flow, and, I mean, you can't say that you could have had this fixed or that fixed. I mean, nobody expected this. And like I said, different areas got more. We got more than a lot of people did. But I do appreciate all the work, and I appreciate, it is aggravating right now, trying to get to schools and things like that, but, you know, it's nobody's fault. I mean, Debbie came, Debbie went, and now we have to recover. I mean, that's just that simple. But the one thing that I'm concerned about is, and I guess it does mean more now that Debbie did come, is that perhaps we need to look at another moratorium on approving more houses right now. Take a look at all of the damage that we've had. Give people time to catch up. And I realize there's not any zoning on this one tonight, and there, wouldn't have been if it was last week. But just in keeping up with everything, reading everything, and even reading what other counties are looking at and things that they're, considering, I think it just might be a time that maybe we need to think about that and just kind of slowing down. I've come to y'all before about the situation with the schools. There's a critical situation there with the schools of not having enough space for all the children. We also have a critical shortage of bus drivers. My daughter gets home from school, well, they've only been 3 days, and I picked her up today, so it was only 2 days. But she's spending 2 hours in the afternoon on a bus to get home because they don't have enough bus drivers. I realize this is not your issue. I'm just saying it all goes together, that maybe we just need to take a little bit of time, try to get caught up with all of the building that we do have going on, try to get caught up with people have lost their houses. Just kind of take a breather is what I'm asking for you to consider. I know that you had said, Mr. Couch, it was going to be really busy in August, and I know you didn't expect this in August. But I know that there are more proposals to come forward, but just looking at everything, I just wish that maybe y'all might think about taking a break and trying to get everybody caught up. We've got so much going on in this county right now. And I would just appreciate you considering that. Thank you.
Lawton Sack.
Mr. Chairman, I think I shared enough comments from the community this morning, and I think the community wants to hear from the staff about recovery efforts, so I will defer my time to the staff.
Okay. See, that's it. All right, we're now going, that ends the public comments, and we'll enter into the staff comments. And I don't know who is first, but we'll have a presentation from the employees and bring us up to speed on Debbie.
I brought some help with me, sir. I'm Randy Tillman, Public Safety Director of Bulloch County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Ms. Mincy White, Mr. Couch. Last week was one for the record books, as we all know. These other folks up here will be talking to you more specifically about their disciplines as it pertains to the storm and related information. Most of you and the other citizens have either been directly affected by Tropical Storm Debbie or have seen some of the damage on the various media outlets. Although the storm left our area after 3 or so days, the effects will be with us for many months ahead. The brightest piece of information involving this storm is that God saw fit to spare the citizens of Bulloch County from suffering a death. There was no loss of life attributed to the Tropical Storm Debbie within Bulloch County. I want to thank the county commissioners and other county leadership, along with those of the past, for investing in the public safety infrastructure that weathered this storm, along with the best public works department you could want to have responding to a storm like Debbie. The Bulloch County Public Safety Team, consisting of emergency management led by Director Corey Kemp, County Fire, Emergency Medical Services, our 3-county 911 system, the BCCI staff and inmates, Animal Control, Animal Services, County Probation, all responded as needed, along with Public Works, to stand up the necessary response. They worked tirelessly and continue to work with numerous other county departments and agencies, as well as several state agencies, to handle the immediate needs of the citizens of Bulloch County. I would like to personally thank Sheriff Noel Brown and his staff for standing with and beside all other first responders to protect life and property. Sheriff Brown was out in the storm supporting the Sheriff's Office staff as well as others as the mission was carried out. I will not attempt to name them all. I will leave someone off of this list, but I would also like to thank the Statesboro Fire Department, Georgia State Patrol, Georgia Department of Natural Resources, the Swiftwater Rescue Team furnished by GEMA, Investigator Will Sims from the Bulloch County Sheriff's Office and his team who initiated some of our first water rescues until other resources arrived. Georgia Power, Georgia National Guard, Excelsior EMC, Dwayne Grice and the local VOAD, Pittman Park United Methodist Church, and all the media outlets who covered this event and helped disseminate information. The countless churches, business, and citizens who donated the time and resources to feed many of the first responders and those in need. This list is incomplete and endless and speaks volumes about the communities of Bulloch County and Statesboro, and shows that we can put our differences aside and be one with each other when our people need help. And at this time, I will yield to Mr. Corey Kemp.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Corey Kemp, Director of Emergency Management. First, I'll just like to give you some public safety numbers starting from Monday morning at 8 o'clock to Thursday afternoon. This is the period where the local declaration of emergency was signed. So during that period, we had 6 compromised dams, 11 swift water rescues that ultimately end up rescuing 80 plus citizens. We don't have an exact number. We're still trying to figure out. And that was from homes and cars. We still ran 144 EMS calls, responded to 166 fire response calls. During that complete time, 911 still answered 2,231 calls. And we have started our individual assessments of each home. So far, we have looked at 159 homes. Over 50 of them will be declared, or possibly will be declared as substantially damaged homes. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Bray.
I was just going to quickly get into some of the road damage. Similar to last year with Hurricane Idalia, we had quite a bit of damage to both paved roads and dirt roads, and I'll let Dink and Robert get into the dirt road aspects a little more. But at different points of the storm event, we had 13 different bridges that we had to close. And GDOT was very cooperative with us in providing bridge inspectors to come look at the bridges after water levels started to go down and make sure the bridge wasn't damaged in such a way that we couldn't let traffic get back on it. Right now, we still have, I believe it's 3 bridges that are still closed right now. And the reason they're still closed, if you all are getting questions from the public, the bridge inspectors from GDOT did look at them and had some concerns. Usually it had to do with scour under the bridge around the pile where it goes down to the ground level. If you get enough scour around the pile, it makes the bridge unstable. Could cause some issues especially with a heavier vehicle or a school bus or something like that going over it. So those 3 bridges are still being evaluated right now. We think we'll get answers from GDOT hopefully this week on their recommendations moving forward on what we need to do with those bridges. We also had a box culvert that washed out and the road caved in. That was on Neville's Denmark Road. So we're evaluating what we're going to do there. But initial inspections seem to indicate we're not going to have to go through a very lengthy design construction process on that. We think we can move forward pretty quick. We also have a couple other places similar to Neville's Denmark Road where we have drainage pipe crossing the road that got washed out on paved roads. I think we have 3 that I know. Yeah, I think it's 3, unless Dink has any other information. So we are going to look at having to repair that damage with, we don't have an exact cost estimate on how much that's going to cost right now, but I think you're probably looking at least a couple $100,000 and somewhere in that range, but we'll find out when we get a little more into it. But I'll turn it over to Dink and Robert.
Good evening, Robert Siemens, Assistant Public Works Director. With the hurricane flood and now the recovery, our Public Works Solid Waste Division has stepped up to the plate. Our Solid Waste Division has had all hands on deck daily cleaning out all the 21 convenience centers of bulk waste, yard waste, and tires. We worked through the past weekend to get ahead of the anticipated record volumes we believe citizens will be bringing to our centers as the citizens begin the painstaking work of cleaning up their storm and flood damaged homes and property. I've been on the phone talking with several of the local waste businesses, solid waste businesses that are contracted by some of our residents to help pick up polycarts and residential garbage. What I have found out is they have had to suspend their services to the citizens that live on the dirt roads. They understand, the businesses do, understand that our roads are compromised. Citizens are encouraged to bring their household waste to the convenience centers. We're asking that they make sure and put all bulk waste and yard debris into the containers provided. This helps us keep the center safe and our citizens and staff safe. We are reminding contractors and commercial businesses that any solid waste they clean up must go to the transfer station located out on North Main Street. We will continue to maintain these centers to the best of our ability. In another area, as part of our storm recovery, we're assessing all of our paved and dirt roads. Tomorrow morning, myself, along with other county staff from Public Works, GIS, Engineering, Parks and Recreation, and Planning and Development are teaming up to put teams in the field doing dirt road assessments. We'll be using a new app that was developed in-house by Mr. Paul and Casey Brown in our GIS department. The app is lifetime collecting and reporting of all of our offices information the crews are gathering in the field. It is our goal to have field information gathered over the next 2 to 3 days, and by the end of the week, hopefully we'll have the initial assessments done on all dirt roads. Mr. Dean?
Good evening. I know this is a lot of information, and hopefully we're giving you the information that you need or want to be able to make some just decisions moving forward. My report is basically storm damage summary, recovery efforts, and cost estimates. For storm debris, basically we consider it to have been a minimal issue. We responded to 78 trees down during the height of the storm from either rain or wind. And really our projections on that is less than $100,000 to recover from the storm debris is actual as far as that goes. The roadway impacts, currently have our 574 paved roads on our inventory list, and our 524 dirt roads. At the peak of the storm, we had reports of 91 road closures from 911 and the Bulloch County Sheriff's Department. Of the 91 roads, only 8 still remain closed. Some of the road closures involved the bridges, which, as Brad mentioned, we had 13 closed at one point, and we currently have 8, and those are waiting on DDOT assessments. Currently, we have 4 paved road failures due to the storm. Now, those will most likely be somewhat of an extended period for those recoveries, because we're projecting to be contract response, because that's not, some of those things is not something we are prepared to do in-house. Excuse me. We had the 524 dirt roads. Of those roads, we have made 172 passable at this point. There are 21 roads or sections of roads that are still closed as of this afternoon. There are still some roads that we have not put eyes on yet, some of the more remote, less populated areas, and we'll be working on that moving forward. As Robert mentioned, tomorrow we are making that initial drive to assess every road. But out of those roads, none of those have specifically been identified to us as having problems. We just know they're there. The initial response efforts in the early stages of the storm, we, in preparation for the impact, started hauling rock to our yard and stockpiling it to be prepared for the response. Our initial stockpile was nowhere near what it was going to take to be able to address those issues. So starting later in the week, we reached out to contract trucking rental units to start hauling rock for us from the supply locations to our yards, so we could in turn turn around and dedicate our responses to the locations. At the end of the week, last week, we had hauled 1,000 tons of number 4 rock to our yard, and we had received approximately 300 tons of GAB on the yard. As of Sunday afternoon, we had depleted the biggest part of that. I'm projecting we probably had 100 tons of number 4s left on the yard as of Sunday afternoon. We continued that hauling efforts this morning. We had to divert some trucks, picked up some additional trucking, and we had to divert some of them to Augusta because we hauled all of the number 4s we could get out of Alkin and Elabelle. And now we were still, as of this afternoon, receiving GAB out of Elabelle, but we're going to redirect those trucks to Augusta tomorrow morning to start hauling GAB and number 4s as we see fit. Just because as we got things reestablished with Martin Marietta and their Augusta location, the financial aspect of it seemed to be more realistic and more cost savings for us to come out of Augusta with the materials. Our priorities in reacting to all of this was based on engineering and Sheriff's Department reports. So we had initially those responses, they drove what we were doing to respond to protect the citizens of Bulloch County. We are still in triage efforts, reestablishing access to our citizens as soon as possible. We're prioritizing our efforts in the areas of where there is completely impassable for the residents as far as emergency access to them or their access to and from their homes. And we have moved out somewhat as we have gotten to those, some of which we have not completed because the efforts were going to be more detrimental to complete at this time than it was to just wait and let it dry out, such as the Williams Landing area. We got it to over half of the residents in that area. We did not get all the way to the river. And that road started to fail under us trying to build it back. So we backed out and in hopes that at least that was an effort to get the majority of the people access. And we're still responding to roads that have people cut off completely and either trying to provide them at least one direction in or out of their residence, and so we can get emergency services to them. Currently, we have communicated with the Board of Education about bus traffic. They contacted Corey and myself, I don't remember whether it was Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, inquiring about accessibility for bus routes. We advised them we still had some paved roads that were still closed, that they would need to work around. And I also made the statement to them that at that point, I had no confidence in giving them an idea that the dirt roads were safe for travel for bus traffic. And we still have that, we still take that stance. We don't feel comfortable giving the green light for bus travel on these dirt roads yet. We are that concerned about the condition of our roads overall. Proposed efforts moving forward, as we try to determine the extent of the work ahead of us, we expect the workload to be a bit overwhelming for us to handle in-house in a timely manner. Please note Public Works still has 14 open positions. Our rough estimates based on experience, Adelia is the more recent, indicate that if we try to manage this with our current workforce, we are projecting a year or more to get our roads back to pre-storm conditions. We're estimating that the storm has displaced as much as 1 to 1.5 million cubic yards of dirt off of our dirt road system. That gives you some idea of the volume of this work that we face moving forward to get that replaced. We're estimating that ditching efforts could possibly reclaim 30% of that material from the ditches, but that would take
a year or more to reclaim, to actually get that 30% benefit. We think that the storm has displaced an average of 6 inches of material off the top of our 700 miles of dirt roads. And that's where we come up with the figures of how much that it's going to take to place back. After we get our roads passable condition, we will then need to reestablish the road beds back to pre-storm elevation and reestablish the grading contours and reestablishing the ditching and drainage improvements that are needed. Our plan is to handle the regrading, reestablishing the contours, and the ditching and draining issues within our 2025 operating budget. If we get any pledge for reimbursements, we can track that and then include that in any reimbursement opportunities that we may have to reclaim, even though we are going to try to manage that through our operating budget. We would still have that opportunity if we get any pledges. Currently, it doesn't look favorable for FEMA reimbursement at this point. There's been some statements of some delegation, elected delegation representation that have pledged some level of support. We've had the information through some of our elected delegation to the state that GEMA has some money that they have obligated as well, but that money would be shared between the 5-6 counties that were dramatically affected by this flood. Evaluating the damages, as Robert mentioned, the GIS department, and being able, we're going to start that tomorrow morning in conjunction with our partner departments in the county. At this time, we are requesting your support and approval for emergency funding to assist in the recovery efforts. The funding is being proposed to retain outside contractors' assistance to reestablish the dirt road foundations and elevations in a timely manner for our citizens. There is still some uncertainties regarding the repair needs, which may vary the recovery time and cost projections. But we are not expecting the emergency funding recovery costs to exceed $5 million. If you choose to support this request, we will establish the criteria for contract qualifications and guidelines for the purpose of work to be accomplished and hopefully activate that process within a few weeks. Our initial thoughts are to use FEMA rates for equipment and GDOT's rates for labor so that we can manage the project. We would supply the materials to be used in this process from our pits and from other locations that have been volunteered to us. We would follow up with an inspection process for any contract work that's done and ensure that we're getting what we want out of the work and getting the roads back to adequate conditions and before we would authorize payment. And then we would establish that process by, we're hoping to maybe get 3 or 4 outside contractors interested. And then as they complete one road, we would assign them another one. We would be working in conjunction with them, with our teams as well, and working on, hopefully we can complete 25%. If they can complete 75%, we hope to cut our time frame on getting these roads reestablished and back to pre-storm conditions to maybe 90 to 120 days. This is not a short-term fix. This is an extended process. This was a catastrophe for us. It has been very overwhelming to see it. It's been very overwhelming to try to handle and plan the process moving forward. I would like to acknowledge and thank the governor of the state of Georgia and the National Guard for their assistance during this time of need. The National Guard spent the better part of 3 days here and covered approximately 70 roads, helping to make them passable for our citizens. I also want to thank all the other county departments, and God forbid that I try to include them all. But I think as a team for Bulloch County,
we all work together exceptionally well through this process. And I want them to know how much Public Works appreciates all of that cooperation. Public Works motto is first in, last out. And it's obvious we're still there when others have moved on to some other responsibilities. But I'll take any questions, or any of us will take any questions you have at this time. But we would submit to ask for your approval to support.
Mr. Chairman, would you yield for a moment, please?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Butler, I want to try to synchronize the framework of your discussion, which, thank you, it was very thorough and instructive. I think, as we discussed today, obviously your preference would be to employ outside contractors and or other service vendors in order to expedite the process, weather permitting, to be between 90 and 120 days versus a year if we did it on our own.
A year or more.
A year or more. Okay. And I think, again, based on our conversation today, your admittedly rough estimates are 3 million on the low side and 5 million on the high side, depending upon how you mix and match resources, right?
Yes, sir.
And then I further think we discussed, along with Ms. King, that if we go with the rapid response plan with the outside vendors and services, and based on your calculations, that would be 75% of the financial effort, that we would make the recommendation to fund that 75% from T-Splost and the remainder from the general fund reserves if needed, with the knowledge that in T-Splost, it may be unlikely that we have to push back projects in our capital improvements program, but if we had to, we're doing it in favor of expediting the process of fixing our roads.
Yes, sir.
Because, the local economy and the safety and the access for everybody depend on it.
Absolutely. The emergency access to and from, the residential's access to and from their homes. I just personally, I think a year is extremely too long for some residents to wait for us to reach them with the recovery efforts of reconstructing their roads back up to a safe standard. And so hopefully this, if you choose to support that and give us that funding, hopefully we can accomplish that in a more timely manner, as we've mentioned, between 90 and 120 days, hopefully, weather permitting, as you indicated.
Yes. And in the meantime, we're still dealing with other private property issues, whether they're broken dams or homes that are unlikely to have people return to them, or homes that are severely damaged, homes in floodplains, which we're already having some conversation with National Flood Insurance Program, folks there. And we've got some other irons in the fire, but I think, my suggestion or recommendation to the commission would be to adopt or approve the rapid response plan for the roads and the associated funding, we'll say up to $5 million. If we don't get there, we don't get there. And in the meantime, we earnestly work with our state and federal delegation, who we're already having conversations with, to try to make sure that we can get some form of state or federal recovery. We'll take what we can get, but whatever we don't get, we move on and fix the roads.
Yeah, and I think that's what we have to do for our citizens. I know Branding Pond, for example, was an extended time frame to go through that process to recover that money. Brandon Pond, as inconvenient as it is, it was only a couple of mile detour for the public to as far as using that road versus traveling through Brooklet or whatever. This has the potential to be so much more inconvenient for so many more people, and that's countywide. And I just feel like the citizens deserve our best effort. And like you said, if we can recover the funds, that's part of what this app is that Robert mentioned, that's working with GIS and the other departments to help us gather this information. We will be tracking everything to the point that if we get that opportunity to get those reimbursements, we will be able to submit the information and the documentation to support the costs and the efforts.
Well, unless the commission prefers to have discussion beforehand and/or questions, I would recommend, whether you do it before or after a motion, I would recommend the motion to be to approve both public safety and public works rapid response plan for the roads, funded up to $5 million, with 75% or $3,750,000 being funded from T-Splost. And then it doesn't need to be included in the motions, but we'll pursue assistance, financial assistance. And so you can move on.
Yes, sir.
So I'll yield the floor back to the chairman, and he can decide whether he wants to take the motion first or if there needs to be discussion before a motion.
Excuse me.
I don't think we're gonna need much discussion, but I would like to say a few words to the citizens. If you don't live on a road, and I wanted to make certain what I'm looking at is up there, and it is, if you don't live on a road that looks similar to that, it might not be as important to you to get your road scraped, but this is beyond scraping. I would like to say, I have been to several of I call them the readiness meetings. That's where all the department heads get together, and hospital, and everybody gets together, and the planning that went on for all of this. I still say this, to the incoming commissioners, we have the best employees that you would find anywhere, from the top to the bottom. And I would hope that they would give consideration in that statement. But then going back to, I think, the year 16, with a lot of things happening, COVID coming, we almost bottomed out with our, call it what you want, rainy day fund, whatever. I think it got lower than 10 to $11 million.
Yeah, probably was well below 10, maybe 8 or 9.
8 or 9. And we've got to consider, we battled back, got it built back up. So, I mean, this is the time that, folks, we got to get these roads fixed. And it's the time to use fund balance again, rainy day fund again, and hopefully we can get some of that back. If not, planning, it can be built back up. But we can't wait 3 or 4 years for these roads to be fixed. And I know this, it's very difficult when there's nothing wrong for y'all to keep up with the roads as they are, in the condition that they are, under normal circumstances. Pick up trash, do the roadside cutting, and everything that goes with all of that. So I admire everything that everyone has done. Those men sitting in front of us down there has done an impeccable job. And, you know, I know you catch the brunt of a lot of issues, a lot of times, a lot of problems, a lot of comments, but y'all do an outstanding job. And having said that, I'm going to open it up to the commissioners. Do y'all have anything to say before I call for a motion?
I got one thing, Mr. Chairman. We are in this, and I know that this is a very small number compared to the population or the rest of the citizens in this county, but we are 30 days out from starting harvest season. So we're talking 90,000 pound semis that's got to go down these dirt roads. If you look at the acres, versus what access to highway versus what access to dirt roads. There's a lot more off of a dirt road. So we've got to do, we have no other choice than to do this, or we're leaving however many, $20 million crop in the field. Hopefully we got that much in the field.
Got some beautiful crops.
Not no more, it ain't.
Yeah.
No, it look more like rivers went through them now, but we're gonna get what the good Lord let us get it, and, to all the farmers out there, I know that's a big thing. I've had a million phone calls about that, because we are 30 days out from digging. And, we're gonna do the best we can. Y'all can always contact me. You can contact Dink's got a bunch of their numbers now, I know. So we're gonna do the best we can, but we all have to help plan with us, because we're 100. Hopefully we get it done in 100 days, but that's gonna be putting us, in November
on the
now,
late
or
side of-
December now, whatever. So
Yeah, late
that's gonna
side
be
of
at the end.
gathering.
That's gonna be the end of harvest season. So we got to work together, and we got to be patient. And I know it's gonna be difficult to get it done, and everybody's gonna get aggravated, but that's the only option we have, folks.
Yeah.
And if you would like to, I'd like to go ahead and.
Can I got one other piece of information, and Brad had another statement he wanted to make. Just information. We did work through the weekend. We plan to work at least next Saturday, and we'll probably give the crew Sunday off, because we've been running 14 days, sometimes day and night. But over the weekend, between Saturday and Sunday, we made 32 roads passable in those 2 days. And so that was a big push between us and the National Guard to accomplish that, on top of what we had already done the Thursday or Friday before that. But we're making all the effort we can with what we got to work with, and any support for this would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. It had not registered
You've had
on
plenty
me
else to think about.
about the heavy equipment for harvesting to be traveling these roads. I was just thinking of pure access for emergency response. But if that is a detrimental aspect, it could literally crush some people with their livelihoods. And so I just really think overall, this is something that we have to make this effort.
I did get a call from Mr. David Rushing with Birdsong Peanut, and he wanted me to remind you of one thing. Mix some sand with that clay. Don't just put straight clay down, he said, because...
Well, the only thing I'll say about that is we will make our best efforts, but there is a process in that, and the foundation really has to be clay, and we will make our best efforts to cover that up and make it passable with sand on top. I just hope everybody understands there's no such thing as perfect. It's a work in progress. So
My job, I passed the request on.
we good. Brad?
Real quickly, got a question from the audience about which bridges are still closed. So the bridges that are still closed right now are Aikens Pond Road, Arcola Road at Lower Black Creek, Deloach Church Road just before the county line, Evans County line, and then also Sinkhole Road the bridge there near I-16 has been closed. We anticipate that to be open sometime tomorrow, right now.
Okay, so it's 4 instead of 3.
So it's technically 4, but I think we'll have one open tomorrow. The other 3, we don't know at this point if we're going to have any expenses on repairs until we get full report back from the bridge inspector. So just wanted to clarify all of that.
And Brad, it don't belong to us, but I was just going for the general information to everybody. Kennedy Bridge, I know it in our bridge, but it was closed. I think it's got some damage. I don't know if it's back open yet or not.
Right, that's,
Kennedy Bridge is in Evans County.
yeah, it belongs to Evans. I guess Evans County has responsibility for it, but
But
yes,
is
sir.
it closed? Do we know?
If it's closed, I don't know.
It was closed as of end of last week. I don't know if it's still closed today, though. Yes, sir.
Do y'all see how this is changing every minute?
Mr. Chairman.
It's just information that just keeps coming. So.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think to assist Commissioner Connor in making his first motion, and Madam Clerk, I think just if we can sort of describe it for the record, if you will, the motion would be to approve Public Works and Public Safety's rapid response plan to restore the roads. That's the first part. The second part would be to appropriate up to $5 million, with 75% of those dollars coming for T-Splost, from T-Splost, to support the plan. And then finally, what I failed to mention, I think the commissioners ought to extend for 120 days, is the emergency purchasing provisions of our financial policies to help expedite the rapid response plan.
What was your motion?
So move.
Second.
Yeah, Steve.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous approval.
Kurt? Approve.
Yes, unanimous approval, and also Al Hackle has made it with Stittsburg Herald here. Any other staff comments?
Just a quick, it's not a reminder, it's sort of a forecast. Because of Debbie, we have backlogged a substantial amount of planning and zoning hearings. I don't have the exact number. They're somewhere between 17 and 21, although they may fall out depending upon how many actually come to you all. But Mr. Pope and I came up with a plan to adjust dates for September and October meetings to kind of shove that pig through the python. And we'd recommended busting up the zoning hearings into 2 separate evenings on a Tuesday and a Thursday. Therefore, help me if I'm hitting a foul ball, James, but for planning and zoning, the thrust of those applications would be heard on Tuesday, September 10th, and then Thursday, September 12th, correct? And then those would come to the county commission for the first meeting in October, which I believe is the 1st. And then subsequently, we would have a follow-up meeting to get the other half of the rezoning hearings finished on October the 3rd. Because given the start times, whether it's 6 p.m. in the case of planning and zoning, and 5:30 with you all, and because of the nature of some of the requests, there are going to be some long evenings, but we're trying to make them a little bit shorter. So, yeah, I can recall a circumstance in Henry County where we went through 85 hearings in 1 week every day, and we were there from 8 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. So on average, that was about 17 hearings a day. Now, we've got 17 to go through, and we're trying 17 to 21, and we're trying to bust them all up. But the difference here is that each commissioner didn't get 3 minutes here. They don't get 3 minutes on the floor, or y'all don't, to comment on the zoning. So there was a procedure issue that made those kind of horrible, but we could very well be here till 10 or 11 on each night. So I think rather than have them on consecutive nights, it's better to bust them up and get a day of rest, so to speak. So that's what we've recommended, and it's my understanding that the P&Z Commission has consented to the dates in September, and provided that y'all don't have an issue with the 1st and the 3rd of October, we can work that, or we can try to choose an alternative if that doesn't work out. The 1st will be by default, but we recommend Thursday, the 3rd of October to hear the other half of the hearings. Any thoughts or suggestions or questions? It's painful, but.
It's gonna be long either way.
Yeah. Okay, that was more of a heads up,
All right.
unless y'all have issues with it.
Any other comments by commissioners?
Can I add something? It is August. We need to approve the millage rate before September. The school board, I understand, is set to approve their millage rate on the 22nd in the evening, and so we have to wait to have our meeting until after that. So I know the tax commissioner would appreciate it if we can get that done as soon as possible. So I was wondering if it would be possible to have a meeting on that Friday morning, August 23rd, to just approve the millage rate resolution.
Probably just, it would be a one-off, quick meeting.
Anybody have a problem? As long as we can have a quorum here, we'd be in good shape.
What, 8:30 work? Okay. All right.
All right, let's go for that.
Thank you.
Anything else from commissioners?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I want to go last. If any of the rest of the fellas got anything y'all want to say.
I'd just like to thank these gentlemen up here and the staff that has been out working on these roads. I go along with the chairman. We got the best staff in the world, and I just don't like to hear a lot of people talk about our staff because they work hard and they don't mind getting out doing the work that needs to be done. And I appreciate y'all, and I know these gentlemen up here appreciate you. So just thank you for what you do.
I'd like to say the same thing to the staff and all the first responders. Y'all done an excellent job. I'm proud to be a part of you and proud to work with you on any way I can help you. I do appreciate everything you do. I do want to send out to the citizens that that stepped up and helped, didn't get in the way, but just filled in where they could, those blank spots. I want to send them all the churches, all the organizations throughout the county that help where they could see where they needed help, whether it be small jobs or big jobs. Like I said again, it is a true blessing to be from here and to be able to know these kind of people around your children and your community.
We're sounding redundant. I just echo what has already been said. We do appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts, everything is done. This is one time that our community really shined by working together, and we say thank you very much.
Thank you to all the public safety and all the public works and everybody, volunteers, everybody that did it. I was part of some of the meetings, and it's always good to see all the agencies come together, like the chairman said. We always work good together, and it's just really proved it. Sometimes we have these meetings and we get ready and nothing happens. And this time we had a meeting and a lot happened, and it just worked out, I think, as good as it could have with as much overwhelming stuff as we had. Thank you all very much.
And also the sheriff's department too. Thank y'all for doing what y'all do.
Mr. Dow, you running them pictures here? Or you flip back to the fella in the boat there, and I'll be talking while you're doing that. Everybody at Public Works and all y'all county employees, I appreciate you. I'm not gonna say that over and over. I can't name all of you. I just appreciate everything you've done. I mean, everybody went above and beyond. That's him, back right there. I was just gonna give y'all, the ones that ain't employed, just the general citizens, there's a network of things that goes on, just like Matt Oglesby. Hey, some of y'all know him, some of you don't. Oglesby's pond, that was the first one to blow. That was his old family's pond. It's not theirs anymore. We stay in contact because I was raised on Lots Creek all my life. And I know the effects. And generally when they let their gates off back with the mill ponds, I don't know how they kept up with it with a horse and all that. Mr. Roy had to tell you that. That's before my time. But they'll call and tell the people at Cypress Lake we opening our gates, and it generally takes just flood waters out of the gates. Takes 3 days to get to Cypress Lake. My brother lives below it. Water got in his house. He'll survive. He's a strong fellow. But it's just Matt Oglesby. He talks to me all the time, and he called me that day, and he said the mill house is shaking. He said it can't stay. He called me at 11 o'clock that night. 5 minutes after 11, he said it just blew out about 5 minutes ago. For the ones that don't know, Oglesby dumps into Lake Collins, and then it blowed Lake Collins. Lake Collins dumps into McKelvin's, which McKelvin's held. They like to blow Cypress Lake out. With that being said, that's just Matt Oglesby and his first cousin runs Lake Collins Gates, and a lot of people behind the scenes, and they do this 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and have been for hundreds of years doing that. So I want them to be recognized just along with the churches and all that, and like that boy there, that's Austin Hutchinson, that's Ricky Hutchinson's boy. Now, if you've been around Bulloch County long enough, you know Ed Hutchinson. He's been a long-time volunteer and a fireman for all his life. And that's his son, and he called me at 4 o'clock that morning because I had the key. That is actually his boat, but I had the key where it was hid at. And he said, I got to have that boat. And I'm gonna leave y'all with a little funny story because I asked him when he got through doing this, because there's always a silver lining. I said, well, tell me about it. He said, well, I was hauling them people out of these subdivisions. Well, that's a jet boat. It ain't got a foot on it. It's got a jet on it. He said, there was one woman, she come and I hauled her to the hill, and firemen and whoever got her. She stayed gone about 2 hours. He said, I was hauling people back, and she come with some grocery bags, and she wanted me to carry her back to the house. He said, no, we ain't doing that. I said, well, tell me the most interesting thing. He said, well, we got the whole subdivision, I think it was out, and we got it cleared out. Everybody checked every house, all the people was out, got to the hill. Everybody was dispersing, and there was a lady standing there, said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, y'all gonna go back to my house? She said, anybody in there? I said, no, but I do have a pot-bellied pig. So he just wanted to let everybody know, if you've ever tried to carry a 350-pound hog on a boat ride, you need to try that one time. He said the biggest thing is getting a life jacket on. But my hat's off to him and all the ones that don't work in the county. They done that, and they helped my brother. There was people come out of the woodworks, all of these people with their own personal boats, and, you know, I mean, they just thousands of people come out to help everybody, and I wanted them to be mentioned in that. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank everybody.
Well, that's a great ending story for this meeting, and it was a great meeting. I am now compelled to read the following statements. I must now call for a motion to adjourn into executive session in accordance with the provisions of OCGA 5014-3B2 and other applicable laws pursuant to the advice of County Attorney Jeff Akins for the purpose of discussing personnel matters. We're now entering into executive session, and we appreciate all of y'all coming.
No, but you can name a road after one. We have one in Colorado. And Randy Tillman even knew about it. Hot belly,
Hot thanks.